Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we have the latest from the live radar, run for the latest UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days as we are heading into a fairly warm weekend with temperatures really rising, especially into Sunday where we could see anywhere between around 24 to 26 degrees. So warm conditions, a good few degrees above average for the time of year, and that is likely to continue into the following week, and we are likely to see temperatures once again around those mid-20s as we do progress into Monday and Tuesday. And at this stage, don't suspect we're going to see anything much warmer than that, just because the upper air temperatures aren't anything too incredible for the time of year. They're a good 4 or 5 degrees above average, but nothing, remarkable. So don't suspect we'll see anything about the high 20s or 30 degrees, but nonetheless, 25, 26 degrees is very pleasant and very warm as we do progress further into May. We are going to see some thunderstorms though in the west. Now there's a little bit more activity on the UKV in the past couple of days. Today, less activity, but it is very much a nowcast situation where these storms are going to be very much pop-up storms. So we're not going to be able to forecast them particularly well. They're not really associated with any trough or any developing area of low pressure. It is more just an area of instability with a low out to our southwest, and then it does shove some instability our way with that warmer air. So there is the risk of storms in the west, but there could be very little, or they could be pretty active through Sunday and Monday. But of course, we'll look at that. We'll look at the latest UKV in a few moments' time. Progressively into the longer range, it is looking likely to stay pretty similar, slightly above average in terms of those upper air temperatures. So we are looking probably around the low 20s quite often, and we are looking fairly dry. There has been an increased precipitation signal as we do progress further into May, but still it looks like a showery signal, thunderstorms, things like that, which can be very much hit and miss. So yeah, the general theme is for these warmer conditions to continue and for it to hopefully be fairly dry as this high pressure continually looks like it's going to move away, and we get closer to the actual event and it doesn't really move away. So we'll have to wait and see, but we'll explore that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And once again, if we start on the live radar, it's dry, not really much going on. It's been the case for the last few days and quite a lot of this spring so far. Very little in the way of precipitation, none at all really, and very little in the way of cloud. You can see out to our south into the Bay of Biscay, lots of thunderstorms, and this is the area of low pressure that is going to move northwards and is going to risk bringing thunderstorms into southern and western areas. Don't suspect we're going to be hit by the bulk of this, but you never know. There could be some quite lively activity through Sunday and Monday. It is one that we'll look at in a few moments' time. If we look at the temperatures, we're in this just after 7 p.m. It's a warm evening, nothing spectacular. It's not a sort of t-shirt and shorts evening, 25 degrees, but it's 18, 19 for most. And you can see for central areas, away from any sea breezes, that's where the temperature is highest. Now, if you head over to the latest UKV now, you can see as we progress into Saturday, it stays dry and very sunny. Looks very pleasant through Saturday afternoon into the evening. You can see, though, a bit of a build-up of cloud in the far southwest, and that's that instability moving in. A few showers are possible overnight Saturday into Sunday, but it's progressively through Sunday we could see some heavier pulses of precipitation out in the west and maybe a few thunderstorms. Nowhere near as much activity today as we were seeing yesterday, but nonetheless it is chopping and changing, so I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a few pulse storms out there. Progressively into Monday, again, a few areas of showers and maybe a few more storms there for central areas into Monday afternoon. That could be pretty lively in a few spots for those dissipate away into the evening. And then a few thunderstorms into Tuesday as well, for those do dissipate as well. So yeah, it does look like it's going to stay warm. It's going to stay fairly dry, just an increased risk of thunderstorms and some rain into the west as we progress through Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. Now, if you look at the max temperature you see today, just about 20 degrees in quite a few spots. And into Saturday, it'll be slightly warmer, 21 to maybe 23, and isolated 24 is possible. As we progress into Sunday, temperatures are slightly higher, more around the 24 to maybe 26 degree range, so very pleasant once again. And into Monday, very similar, 23 to maybe 26. An isolated 27 is possible somewhere. So mid-20s is kind of a theme for most. You can see it's a lot more variable towards the east coast, and that's because of sea breezes. And further westwards, we've got a bit of cloud and, of course, the risk of those thunderstorms. So it's not guaranteed to be that warm. All depends on that thunderstorm activity. But that's the sort of temperatures we would see where we do have low thunderstorm activity or very little. So again, could be variable, but those are sort of the ballpark figures we're looking at. Into Tuesday, it's pretty similar. Again, we're looking at low to mid-20s. Very pleasant, dry and warm, and that would probably continue into Wednesday as well. You may note that overnight temperatures are still fairly chilly with the clear skies, and still being in May, those overnight temperatures will drop away pretty rapidly, so there will be a big diurnal range, but again, we're not expecting anything massively cold. The upper air temperatures are warm, but they're nothing spectacular, no Mediterranean humidity, so that's why those temperatures do fall away at night with that radiation, clearing all that warmth away. So definitely cold nights and cold mornings, but as soon as that sun gets going, get 9, 10 a.m, yeah, it's going to be very warm and very pleasant. Now, do go and have a look at the latest GFS. You can see the high pressure in control at the moment. That lower pressure just clearing to our southwest over the coming days, pulling up a southeasterly, so warm and humid, or more humid. Nothing, spectacular, as we said, but of course, potentially powering those thunderstorms. Progressively, though, the high pressure sits back over the top of us, so it eliminates that thunderstorm risk, and it just looks really dry and warm there progressively into later May. There is a slight lowering in pressure, though, that could bring the risk of thunderstorms once again as we head into the second half. But it does look like for a period of time, especially in the middle of the month, it's going to turn very dry and potentially even warmer. If we look at the temperature deviation, again, nothing spectacular, but 4 to 6 degrees above average. And that would probably equate to something in the ballpark of the mid-20s. You can see here around the 22 to 24 degree range around midday. So mid-20s would be the top temperature. So as I said, very pleasant, almost ideal conditions if you're being completely honest. Anything above about 26, 27, that starts to get a little bit too warm in my opinion. So yeah, mid-20s, perfect conditions. A good few degrees above average, looking very dry. Yeah, in my opinion, is exemplary now. I know some people want something a bit warmer than that, some people want a bit cooler, but generally speaking, this is, I think, the outcome for the next couple of weeks, or at least the most likely outcome at this stage. If you compare it to the latest GM, again, we see that low pressure out to our southwest pushing in, and then eventually the high pressure topples over and dominates for the foreseeable future. Again, we have to keep an eye on what happens with these lows. Again, some cool or cold air could come around the high, but generally speaking, it does look pretty dry and pretty pleasant. Nothing too much going on. If we do compare to the latest ECMWF, just to finish off, it's only just coming out, so only got out to 192 hours, but broadly very similar with that low heading in from the southwest. Eventually the high topples in and it looks dry and pleasant. The upper air temperatures are hovering around average or just above average. Again, there is a bit of cold air towards Scandinavia that could drift our way, but at this stage, it is looking likely to remain warm and dry. If we finish by looking at the ensembles, again, a little bit of a peak this weekend, about 5 degrees above average, and then dropping closer to average, but still being 2 or 3 degrees above average for the foreseeable future. A bit of a precipitation through Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, dropping off, though, for much of next week, and then potentially to the final third of May, a reintroduction to that precipitation, as we do potentially see something a little bit more thundery and unsettled starting to arrive. But that is in the longer range. Not many of the operational runs are actually showing much going on with this, so I can think that'll be something to keep an eye on down the line in the next sort of week or so. Perhaps we'll see a little bit more insight into that. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. And if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF ensembles, look at the midnight run, broadly very similar temperatures, above average this weekend, and then hovering around average or above average for the foreseeable future with increased precipitation, but again, no washout conditions, just higher chance of thunderstorms and showers. You can see the 2 meter temperatures associated with that, again, hovering around the low to maybe mid-20s, so looking pleasant, dry and warm. As I said earlier, can't ask for much more than that, in my opinion. Perfect conditions to be out and about in. Not too hot, but not too cold either. Just perfect May conditions. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the rest of the month has in store. But yeah, for now, it's looking pretty great indeed. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you again for another video soon.